Yes, my name's Christopher Collins. I'm a horticulturalist. I've been one for quite a while. I started off as a parks apprenticeship and then I went to Edinburgh Botanic Gardens. I was then lucky enough to spend some time abroad. I was in Africa and I was in Japan. And then I went to be head gardener at Westminster Abbey, which was quite an experience. And then I fell into telly. I did 10 years as the Blue Peter gardener. But these days, I do a lot of community gardening. I'm particularly involved as head of horticulture for an organisation called Garden Organic. And we like to go out into communities, to housing associations, to youth clubs, to schools, and talk about the benefits of horticulture, of gardening. Housing associations need to think about their outdoor spaces. Not just housing associations, to be fair. As a society, we need to think about it. You feel as good as the surroundings you're in. Okay, so if the surroundings are good, you feel better. You engage them. You feel that you want to do something about it. If it looks awful, it's just crisp packets and shopping trolleys. That's the reality of it. So there's an empowerment there for residents and housing associations, and that's really important. What tends to happen with housing associations is buildings go up quite quick and they kind of move on to the next one, and there's targets to hit. So sometimes the garden is the last thing thought about. So if a garden sort of looks bad or a border looks bad, it can affect how you feel about your home. Like all blocks of flats, you have a border out the front, and what happens is the builders who build them, they've got a little bit of cash left over. It tends to be an afterthought. I think that's a problem. I think that's a mistake, but obviously I would say that. But what happened is that happened here, and we had a lot of plants that just died. The soil was poor, the plants just died. It was a last minute thought. So that's fine, life is life, but I can't come home every day and look at dead plants. So I took them out, and when I took them out, then a discussion started to happen about what we'd do with that space. So basically what I did is I got the children and the families involved in the block. We set up a WhatsApp group. I then went out and got some plants. I sowed a lot of seeds, and we did, as a block of flats joint operation, we planted outside. So first of all, in the autumn we put bulbs in, spring bed in, a few other bits and bobs, and then in the summer we put sunflowers and summer bed in. So it's been really colourful, and all my neighbours have said to me since then is what a delight it is coming home. And it does. You walk down the driveway bit to get here, and you just feel different about the property because of this little team effort that's gone on to create a nice garden in front of it. We all share a social space, and so from my point of view, gardening is a social adhesive. So it's the thing we all see when we come home. It's the thing that surrounds our buildings. It's the place where we stop and talk to each other, really. Once we're inside our homes, we're not doing that. We're watching the telly, we're talking to our wives or whatever. So I just think if you bring up the level of what's surrounding a building, it creates a community. It's a point of contact. %50 of city dwellers, urban dwellers in places like London don't have a garden. Okay, we don't have these big open spaces we'd have had when we bought properties in the 50s, etc. So our gardening's been condensed in a way. I kind of found a lot out about this when I was in Tokyo, because nobody has a garden. So when I came back here, I had a balcony garden, my first flat, I've got one here. So I started to garden in miniature. So I do it all in pots and baskets. And you can see from this picture, it's no barrier to having a really nice garden. There's bedding plants here for colour, there's peppers, there's chilies, there's aubergines, there's climbers, I've got herbs here, I've got herbaceous plants here. So I kind of montage it all into these containers and hanging baskets, and you can create a really, really beautiful garden without there needing to be a huge open space. Just start with one hanging basket if you need to. Gardening is a game of experience, so the more you try, the better you get at it. Wisdom is born from error is quite a good explanation of how it works. But once it's up and running, it's just a daily routine. So I get up in the morning, for the first 10 minutes I water everything by hand. So I'm inspecting my plants. Do they need picking over? Do they need deadheading? Do they need that? That 10 minutes every morning when I just check everything, make sure it's got moisture, make sure it's healthy, is the key to the success of it all. So this in a way makes home groups' job easier, because we're trying to taking care of the property in an area that maybe is quite difficult for them because they're stretched, they've got lots of stuff to do, just maintaining the building. And I think that, so in a way, I think, and it can't always be about looking at someone else to do stuff. There needs to be some empowerment. This is, we all live here, let's try and make it more beautiful. It's such a simple thing and very underrated thing, but a little bit of gardening around where you live is, again, I'll say the two words again, a social adhesive. And people like Garden Organic, myself, we're really happy to come in and advise on that and to help with that. It's not as difficult as I think maybe people think it might be.